So hi, everybody. I'm Cameron Keating. I'm from the Center for Student Success. I'm a peer academic coach, and this is our Conquering Procrastination, Implementing Structure, and Advocating for Yourself workshop. So my name's Cameron, and procrastination is something that I often do, and I'm sure many of you guys also do it too. But in school, we have very limited time, and everyone has so many other obligations. So it's important that we work to end those bad habits and start to use our time better and get our work done. So yeah, procrastination or conquering procrastination is important to me. I have 3 jobs. I work as a peer academic coach for the Center for Student Success. I'm a peer tutor. And I also work at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. So making time and utilizing it correctly is very important for me because I don't have a lot of time. So let's get started. What is procrastination? I'm sure most of you kind of know what this is already. It's putting off your important tasks until the very last minute and waiting until you have just enough time to complete them. But oftentimes people think procrastination is similar to like being lazy. You just don't want to do your work, but procrastination is different. Procrastination is kind of feeling overwhelmed, experiencing difficulty concentrating when you try to engage in these tasks that you have to do, like homework or other projects for school or work. It's experiencing personal problems that kind of affect your ability to get these schoolwork and other responsibilities done, becoming bored during the work that you're doing and not being able to follow through until completion, or it's being afraid of failure and not wanting to do poorly on these tasks. So you put them off so that you don't fail, even though you're still putting them off and waiting for something bad to happen. So signs of procrastination, people not being able to meet deadlines, putting things off in multiple areas of life, not just school, also putting off your family obligations, your social obligations, things that you have to do, but you can't get to. Also, when you procrastinate, sometimes you'll feel like you're not being productive when you're doing other things like tasks that you think are more fun, or you're just doing them because you don't want to do the important stuff that you need to get done. And so as a result, you'll feel stressed because you'll have all these things sort of piling up. Challenges for procrastinators. Here, I want to ask you guys, some of you probably procrastinate, or at least maybe all of you. So what are your challenges? Can you just write in the chat? Finding motivation, thank you, Stephanie. Task initiation, thank you, Megan. Time management, thank you, Abigail. These are all common problems for procrastinators. These are some of the ones that I listed. Getting started on a task, like someone said, task initiation, staying motivated throughout the duration of the task. You know, you're finding it hard to complete it. Even though you got it started, you can't find the motivation to pull through and finish it. And then also meeting deadlines. And so here are some of the short-term consequences of procrastinating. First, you'll start missing assignments if you put them off, or if you put them off but still try to get them done, you'll turn in either unfinished or poor quality work because you don't give yourself enough time to complete them to the best of your abilities. And then you'll get, as a result of that, you'll get bad grades here and there. But there's also long-term consequences of procrastination, poor exam or semester grades, because if you're putting off all these assignments, eventually you're not going to learn like all the content that you need or are supposed to, the skills that you're supposed to practice to do well on your exams. These will affect your semester grades. You could have a lower GPA. You'll have stress due to the cumulative nature of school. So when I say cumulative, like everything's sort of piling up and building up. As you put off one assignment, then you have other assignments that are incoming that you're also putting off or not doing because you're missing the first ones. And then as a result, you'll feel overwhelmed and you might even have academic burnout. And burnout can affect all areas of your life, not just school, but work and your social lives, because you'll feel unmotivated to do many things and you won't want to do anything besides like rest and relax. Yeah. So how do we conquer procrastination? That's the point of the workshop. So first, we're going to work on tools to stay organized and build habits of persistence. When I say habits of persistence, I mean just things to help us keep us going throughout our finishing our assignments and whatever. And then two, tap into external resources. There's many other supports around you that are available to you that you can make use of, especially here at TCNJ. So what does implementing structure look like? It looks like developing a rigid schedule and sticking to it, planning for upcoming weeks or assignments, and following through on the plans that you make. And it also means building in rewards and time to recharge. The other day, my professor, she said, internal resources like willpower are finite. So eventually you might find yourself giving up on things because if you try to push through and do all your work without giving yourself any time to break or recharge, then you're gonna burn out. So yeah. When I think of building in rewards, I think of my roommate. He really likes this one brand of ice pops. So to motivate himself and give himself incentives to get work done, he'll say, I'm going to do this assignment and then I'm going to eat an ice pop. So little things like that, or even bigger rewards, are important to keep us going throughout our work. So conquering homework, the Pomodoro method. This is a method that you can use to ease procrastination, kind of like in the moment when you're doing an assignment. So like this is for like short-term, one-off sort of situations. I don't know if anyone has used the Pomodoro method, but it's kind of like this. So when you start an assignment, the Pomodoro method is you do 25 minutes of working on whatever task you're doing, and then it'll give you 5 minutes of rest. And so that sort of cycle of 25 minutes working, 5 minutes rest, you do that 4 times, which adds up to 2 hours. And then the Pomodoro method says you can have a longer break now. So this is a good strategy to use when you're completing assignments like papers or homework problems. So you don't just try to power through and then fail. You can power through in those 25 minutes, then take a little rest, then 25 minutes and rest again. And yeah, so if you want to use that timer, or I mean, obviously it's 25 minutes, 5 minutes, kind of easy. You could set that timer yourself, but there's a website you can use called homofocus.io. You can visit and they have the timer there and it's kind of cute. So I recommend that. And then for implementing structure long-term, this is one of the tools that we do through the Center for Student Success. You can, if you wanted to have someone help you do this, you can visit the peer academic or the advising bar with a peer academic coach, but this is how you use Google Calendar to implement structure in your studying and your life in general. So first, you start off with a blank Google Calendar, and you're going to block off your obligations, things you have to do that have a rigid time schedule. So this is like classes or jobs. Classes have the specific time, and jobs, you have your shifts. So you put those in first, and these can look different for everyone. And that's kind of the message for like this entire thing, that like your Google Calendar, everyone's is going to look different. Next, you're going to add your supplemental school items like homework and tutoring. These are things that you also have to do, but they don't have a rigid time schedule. you can kind of do them whenever works best for you. So you want to think, what times do you do your best work? Do you like to work in the morning or at night? And then I also put that you should add in your meals during this time, because you also have to eat. But those things are also can work around your schedule, and are kind of like however you think you need them to be. So yeah. Third, you add you time. Anything you do to recharge, because self-care is so important, especially to conquer procrastination. You don't want to burn out. So things that you like to do in your free time, like TV, taking naps, or like other hobbies you have, you don't want to eliminate those, because then you won't have any time to recharge and you'll be more likely to burn out. Next, you allocate your social time. So time with friends, family, or if you're involved in any clubs, these are important too, because you need the social ties to help you pull you through school and your life. And but again, like social time, we tell you to put that in after self-care, because it's important that you secure yourself before you're trying to spread yourself thin and devote time that you don't have to other people. And here's an example of a Google Calendar that I did. Another thing about this is that you can do it however, like whenever something arises. So you don't always have to have a calendar, but if you have like upcoming important assignments all at once, maybe it's really important that you need to do that. So here's, I think 2 weeks ago, as you can see, I had a couple exams and a paper, and I really need to get everything done. So I made a pretty rigid schedule. But it was only from Wednesday on. So I was like, by Tuesday of that week, I was like, this is what I need to do. So for the rest of the week, so I can get everything done. So everything in yellow is work or class, the things that I need to be at. Then I added in everything in blue, which is the supplemental kind of doing my homework, other things that I need to do for my jobs. And yeah, and then the red is stuff that I just needed for myself. As you can see, I didn't add any like meal. Well, I did add like breakfast time when I would eat breakfast, but I didn't add like lunch or dinner, because like I would fit those in, or time with my friends, because I would fit that in. But you can definitely add those in a different color too. But yeah, and here's another example. This was my final schedule for last year. So as finals are kind of approaching in a month or so, it's important that you also stick to a schedule during those times, because they're incredibly stressful and really important. So yeah, in blue I had, I think I color coded by classes. So in blue I had the one class that I had an exam in pink I had the other. So the exam time plus all the studying time. And then in purple, I had all of that stuff related to recharge or social activities. And then I also had space, because it's important that you remain flexible in your schedule. So you don't want to pinpoint everything down to like the second, because something can come up and you might have to adjust. So you want to make sure you're meeting all of your obligations, but also like be flexible in case something changes. So now it's your turn. I would like to invite everyone to open up their Google Calendars, and maybe for 5 minutes, try and see if you can make a schedule that works for you. I have on the next slide, I have all of the key points from how to, like step by step, how to do this. Maybe if you have your phones out, this might be a good thing to take a picture of to keep. And yeah, maybe for 5 minutes, just work on your own personal schedule. If you're here, you want to conquer procrastination, then this is something that could help you. So. Yeah, and if you have any questions, just drop them in the chat and I will check on the chat. All right, so again, here I would recommend taking a picture of this slide just so that you have it, and for when, if you go back to make a schedule later, you can refer to this, and because these are good key points. But I'm gonna continue. So find a space in your Google Calendar making and come back. All right, so what does advocating for yourself look like? And I wanted to pose this question to you guys. So maybe drop a response in the chat. How do you guys advocate for yourself?
Cameron, you might have to give them an example so they open up. They're a little shy.
All right, so advocating for yourself can be in person or over email. An easy example of in person could be going to your professor's office hours and asking them a question, or asking them for a little more help on an assignment or something. Or over email, it could be to a professor or to any support person like an advisor or a CSS mentor, someone who you look to for support. Advocating for yourself is reaching out when you have exhausted all other options on your own. So maybe you've tried the Google Calendar, you've tried staying to this rigid structure, or maybe you've tried using the Pomodoro method, but you still feel like you're having some problems or you're not doing as much as you can do. So you can reach out to people that are here in your corner for help and support to help get you through that. Yeah, and then.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. We had a good example in the chat. Marissa said she advocates for herself, trying to be honest and telling people when her social battery runs out, and she can't hang out also when she's dedicating time to work.
Yeah, Marissa, thank you for that answer. It's a really good answer. Yeah, and Emma, being honest with the professor when something isn't clicking instead of acting like you understand it. Good, those are good examples. Because continuing like you do understand, it's not going to help you, and even for other people who have that same confusion, reaching out to the professor is a good way to combat that. So yeah, when you know you need more support than you yourself can give. So that is what advocating for yourself is. So I'm gonna show you guys how to advocate for yourself over email. A lot of people come to college and they're not really sure how to use emails, how to write emails, especially to their professors or other people that are like, they have authority over the student. So that can be like a daunting task, and sometimes you're not worried if you might say the right thing or the wrong thing. So here's how you do it. So the first step would be identifying the recipient of the email. So who can best address your problem or meet your needs. So this could be either your professor, faculty member, or not faculty, faculty advisor, or anyone else that you think could help you. For example, like a program assistant. So then you're gonna create a subject line. This kind of daunting too, but don't overthink it. It's just something simple that conveys your concern very generally. So I just gave some examples like help with ... or question about ... and that's usually sufficient. So next, you're gonna wanna write a greeting. So remember your recipient and their appropriate title. So like for your professor, you're gonna wanna use doctor or professor, not like Mr. or Mrs. Sometimes they can be a little, they don't like that, they have that credential. So it's just a way of showing respect. For someone that's not a professor, maybe just using Mr. or Mrs. is okay. So next, you'll open with a friendly formality, like, how are you doing? I hope you're doing well. Just something that shows like you kind of care about them since you're asking for their support. So it's best that you like, appear nice so that they'll want to provide you with the best answer they can give you. Next, you'll want to describe your concern and then ask your question. It's pretty simple. You just got to keep things brief and be careful of your tone. So when I say that, I mean like you don't want to sound like you're demanding something from them. By them offering you support, they're kind of doing you a favor. So you want to be conscientious of that and conscientious of your words, because even if you don't intend to sound like you're demanding something, your words might kind of come off that way. And then usually I like end it with like, let me know when you get a chance, because that's like a easygoing sort of nice way of asking for like a response like, as soon as possible. And then next, closing, be sure to thank them, include a thank you so much, thanks, whatever, wherever, and then use your first name or your full name. So like usually if you're in the professor's class, I would say you're probably on a first name basis, unless the class is like really large, then maybe use your full name. But if it's someone that you've never interacted with, probably use your full name so they know who you are. You're not just a random person. Yeah. Next, proofread, always proofread. You want to look professional. You also want to make sure that you're conveying the meaning that you intend to. If you missed a couple of words or something, you could like throw them off and you don't want to get like a confused response back, or you don't want to get a response that is answering a question that you didn't ask. So yeah. And then 8, sometimes schedule sending is good. You can try to send the email at a message that you think your professor or whoever might answer their email most. So like that could be in the morning or maybe during office hours, though they're more likely to check. And I often use this, especially if I'm writing an email at like 3 a.m. Sometimes I'll schedule send for like 8:03 a.m., not 8 a.m. So they know it's not a schedule send a couple minutes later. So it looks like natural. And then, so how you do a schedule send is the drop down arrow next to the send button. When you compose an email in that left corner. So it's pretty easy. And then here is an example of a time I advocated for myself. So I'm in the honors program and I needed a second honors class by the end of this semester, and I needed to get this class that I'm doing approved as an honors class. So I reached out to my professor, and I'll read it. So, hi, Dr. Gaisley. It was nice meeting you today. I really enjoyed class today. I'm in the honors program, and I need to complete a second honors course by the end of this semester. I was wondering if you would be willing to do an honors by contract for the course, and if so, what that may look like. Thank you, Cameron. So yeah, I kind of did all the steps that I said I talked about before, but also something important to note is like the spacing. So I pressed enter after the greeting and then did another enter before I started. The message was very short. I didn't like go into too much detail, just kind of the necessary information to know. And then I asked my question. Again, not too long, short. So professors, they are super busy. A short email with all the information, very brief. It's going to get you a quick response, and it's kind of conscientious of their time. And then again, so after the question, I said thank you. I entered again, and then entered, and I did my name. So since I'm in the class and I know the professor, I can use my first name. This was supposed to be your turn. I would have encouraged you to open a Google Doc so you could write your own email or write a template for an email for when you do need to advocate yourself. But I'm not going to do that. But here is sort of just a summary slide that I think you guys should take a picture of, so that when you do need to advocate yourself over email, you can refer to this. And yeah, so besides sending an email to someone, there's also many other supports available to you at TCNJ. We have the Center for Student Success. Within the Center for Student Success, we have the peer academic coaches at the advising bar. We can go through all of these tools that I shared with you in person. Roscoe West first floor lobby. We could write an email with you. We can make a Google Calendar schedule or a physical schedule with you, and we'll give you all the tips that I shared today. And then we also have counseling and prevention services and the Accessibility Resource Center and the Tutoring Center. And there's probably more that I didn't list, but these are all helpful to you. They're there for you, especially when you feel like you've exhausted all of your options within yourself. These are supports that are available to you that can help guide you through the process without letting you fall behind or end up at the end of the semester with poor grades and burnt out. So, and that's all I have for you guys today. So thank you for attending the workshop. I hope you found something useful that I shared with you. So thank you. I guess now I'll open up to any questions. You can share in the chat box.